Hey CivOppers, how you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode of CivOps Gear, reviewing all the EDC gear and knives for everyone from the discerning civilian to the experienced operator. Today, I got something I've been wanting to get my hands on for quite a while. This is the Spyderco Vallotton. Just came in today from Atlantic Knives, and I am very excited to have my hands on this. I've been looking at this knife for years and just never pulled the trigger on it. And it was re-released again, and it's already again out of stock a lot of places, but very, very excited to have it. This is a large knife, and larger than I actually thought it was going to be, but it is really sort of a work of art more than anything else. It's a very, very kind of unique design brought to us by Butch Vallotton. And there are some very, very cool features of this knife. But rather than just telling you the great features of this knife, I'm going to do that. But I'm also going to talk about the cost of a name. Because I'm going to compare this knife to something else for you guys. And it's not really a fair comparison. This knife here is, you know, I think everywhere you can find it right now, it's running about 270, 280 bucks. And I don't really have a huge problem with that price. It is S30V. It's, you know, made by Spyderco, designed by a great knife designer, Butch Vallotton. And I think the price is probably okay. But we're going to talk about what is the real value in a name, and what is the knife industry producing today for less money without names. So let's get into it. This knife here is very, very interesting. There's not a lot of other knives in the knife world that are quite like this one. Let's have a look. It's very, very thick, very thick. The blade stock is very thick. I mean, it's sort of a beast. The Ergos are pretty good. They feel nice. I really, really, really like this huge thumb ramp here. You know, I'm a guy with big hands, and the large thumb ramp with the jimping at this angle going up, I think is great. I really like that. It's every bit a Spyderco because of the Spidey hole there, but also has thumb studs. They're sort of shallow thumb studs, and they're really kind of 90-degree angles. There's not a lot of chamfering going on there. But what's interesting is the thumb studs also serve as a stop pin for the blade, and it's very cool. They if you see the steel liners inside, they have a space inside them without actually hitting the bolsters themselves on the outside, where those thumb studs pop right into place and serve as your stop pin, which is very interesting. The stop pin that's placed right here really is only for when the knife is closing to stop it from hitting the backstop. So it's very interesting. I really like that design. The blade is every bit of 3 3/4 inches with a hollow grind and sort of a different grind right up here on the very tip. Let me see if I can get that to show up for you guys. If you can see that, sort of a different grind on the very tip. But with such a thick, thick, thick stock blade, or I'm sorry, blade stock, that hollow grind is nice, but it's still a steep angle because you know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's going to be slicey, but you're going to end up sort of wedging things if you cut all the way through. Anyway, the action is lovely. It flies open. I actually prefer the thumb studs on this one than the Spidey hole. I just find that I'm getting a better action off of the thumb studs than I am from the Spidey hole, interestingly enough. Obviously, it's beautifully centered. It's high quality craftsmanship. It comes out of the Taichung, Taiwan factory. and uses S30V steel. So the steel is nice. This is a high quality knife. I'm very, very happy with it. The clip, which is sort of just a traditional Spidey clip, is 4-position actually, which is always interesting. Always interesting to see which knives can work out where to place the clip drilling so that you can have 4-position. But this knife, in fact, does have right hand tip up or tip down, left hand tip up or tip down. So that's pretty cool. I'm really, really liking, most of all, just the general look of the knife. It's just got sort of this traditional, elegant look to it, combining the very smooth G10 with the steel. And as you can see, it's a liner lock, and the liner seems to lock up very nicely. What do you guys think? That hits, boy, right about 40–50%. It's a very nice lockup. You know, if you can see this though, if there is an issue with the Ergos at all, it's that the liner lock really does not follow the curve of the finger choil. And so you end up, unless that liner is going to hit right in the crease of your finger, which thankfully I've already figured out how to make mine do, so it's really not that much of a problem. But if it's going to hit anywhere else, you're going to find this to be sort of a sharp edge. So that's not really a problem for me in my hand. I actually am enjoying the grip on this, but that could be an issue for some people. But again, you know, the fit and finish on this is really, really rather stunning, actually. You feel almost none of the separations in material from G10 to steel to G10 to steel on the bolsters. And then the scales to the liners, to the backspacer, to the liners, to the scales again. You can not really feel any gaps. Just the fit and finish is just really, really, really nice. Sort of a testament to that Taichung factory that's pushing this out. It's just really, really, really nice. I said I like the action, and I do. There's not a great deal of what you'd call drop shutability on this, however. It's got a nice action opening up, but you know, the blade will drop right back to about there. And then at that point, I'm finding that I actually just have to close it. Not a huge issue, but you know, I do like my drop shutability. So I'm very happy with this. Couple little things, you know, like I've already mentioned, that are, you know, sort of design things that maybe could have been done a little bit differently. You know, there are some kind of sharp edges on it. Like I mentioned, the liner lock is not matched to the curve of the finger choil, and so you know that can hit you with some sharp edges. The thumb studs, as cool as they are as a stop pin, they are sort of sharp 90-degree angles. There's not a lot of chamfering on there, but I'm still really, really glad to have it. I think the blade is really, really nice. It's a beautiful looking grind, very interesting look. I love the sort of traditional look, and the quality and fit and finish is really beautiful. Now, this knife, like I just told you, is running right now every bit of $270, $280, okay? Something like that. This knife here, this is a Ned Foss. Who's Ned Foss? I don't know. I have no idea. But Ned Foss is a guy, apparently, who makes knives you can get on Amazon for 30 bucks. This knife is using D2 steel, so it's not the S30 of this $280 Spyderco, but it's still D2. It has a much, much thinner liner lock, but still if you can see, still has a pretty good lockup right there at about 30% or so. The liner is a little bit more curved to match the finger choil, so it digs into your finger much, much less than the one on the Spyderco. And look at this. How about that for some drop shut ability? Let me move the Spyderco real quick. Boop. Perfectly centered. Now you can see there is a lot of space between those liners and the blade. Whereas when you look at a higher quality knife like the Spyderco, there's very, very little space between the blade and the liners. This Ned Foss, you see there's much less space up here near the top of the blade, which is very thick stock up here. But then you get down a little closer to the tip and you see there is a lot of space between the liners and the blade. But you know what? To me, that is even showing off how centered this knife is. There is no Spidey hole, obviously. There are no thumb studs. This knife is all flipper. It flips out. It doesn't quite have that really high quality feel that you get from knives more like the Vallotton. But let's do a quick size comparison real quick. The $30 Ned Foss is a full 4-inch D2 steel blade. The Vallotton is 3 3/4 inch S30V. The reason I'm comparing these two is just sort of this G10 in steel look. And I happen to have this Ned Foss out. In fact, I used this to open the box that the Vallotton came in. And, you know, this clearly is, you know, I bought this because it was a D2 knife that was 4 inches long and it was 30 bucks on Amazon. I like big knives. This is heavy as hell. It's huge and heavy. In fact, the Vallotton is over 6 ounces. And compared to this Ned Foss, it feels very light. Feels like it weighs nothing. If you pick up something like a PM2, listen, right here I happen to have a Tenacious with titanium scales. Just happen to have it sitting out because I'm gonna take this apart shortly and work on the centering because the centering's no good on this. So I'm gonna take this apart. The titanium scales on this Tenacious, yeah, it's pretty lightweight. Compared to that, the Vallotton feels heavy. Compared to that, the Ned Foss feels like a brick. Ugh. Now, is this too big and heavy for most people to EDC? Yes. Me? No. I would absolutely carry something this big. In fact, I prefer large knives. The weight is a factor for sure, but for 30 bucks, I got 4 inches of D2 steel with plenty of drop shut ability and perfectly centered with G10 and steel. For 280 bucks, I got a beautiful styled knife from a major name brand designed by a major knife designer with premium steel and a great action, nicely centered, really no drop shut ability though. And I'm wondering, what really is the cost of a name, if you see where I'm going with this? Now, is it fair for me to really compare this knife to this knife? No, clearly there's no comparison in fit and finish and high quality. There are sharp edges all over this thing. The liners are sharp, but you know, you can sort of feel the gaps between the G10 and the steel bolsters. But, you know, is anything loose? Is it coming apart? Is it a gas station knife? No, no to all of those things. So again, I have to ask, besides being able to say that I own this Spyderco Vallotton, which I'm happy to be able to say I do, In the world of knives, this is a respected knife from a respected manufacturer designed by a respected designer, and it's high quality, and it's every bit of everything I thought it would be, and I really enjoy it. But if I wanted to use this knife, why would I get this instead of this? You know, let's take a look at the liners. You can see that the Vallotton has a much thicker steel liner, which has probably a stronger lockup. This is a thinner liner, still has a decent lockup. This does use bronze washers, just like this does. This uses bronze washers too. And I'm wondering, when I compare these knives together, does this knife have to be $280? I'm not saying it could be done for $30, but how much of that $280 am I paying for the Spyderco name and the Vallotton name, when Mr. Foss is willing to sell his name for 30 bucks? And so if you guys see where I'm going with this knife here is an absolute tank with D2 steel centered and all the drop shut ability you could possibly want. This knife here is a showpiece and a beautiful knife that was so popular and desired that they had to do another run of it. But say I wanted to actually use one of these for daily hard use. Would I want to use this one for $280, or would I want to use this one for $30? So you see what I'm saying? The cost of the name. Let me put it to you another way. Do you think Hyundais are as reliable and quality as Mercedes, even though they cost less money? I would venture to say, yes, they probably are. But the Mercedes name costs something because it's worth something. The Spyderco name is worth something, and the Vallotton name is worth something. Could this knife, again, am I saying this knife could be done for 30 bucks? No, of course not. There's design and fit and finish and quality, premium steel materials that go into this knife. Clearly, this knife could never be 30 bucks. But if this knife here were made by Zero Tolerance, this exact same knife, would it be $230 instead of $30? I'm going to share the links to both of these, and you guys tell me what you think. What is the real value of a name? For collectors, that value is high. For users, I dare say, I'm not sure it should be so high. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed the last episode just a few days ago, building out the Mossberg 500. Always a pleasure to talk knives with you guys, and we'll see you on the very next CivOps gear review. Please make sure to remember to join us on Instagram at CivOps_gear, and join our Facebook group. We have a new Facebook group up, CivOps Gear. Join us on Facebook and Instagram. See you guys on the very next episode. Bye-bye now.